I've been working on that with my therapist and my astrologist, and I'm working on the overwhelmed feelings. Certainly when I started stand up, I was sort of figuring out my voice and I didn't know who I was. I started when I was 23 going on 24. So I definitely didn't come into it fully formed. And I just I don't want to try and be like anyone else. Like I don't want to write in like Seth Meyers' voice, even though I think he's fantastic. That's just not my strength. And so I just thought the only way that was going to make it is if I just try to be myself as much as possible. And then when I met Jessica Williams and we started Two Dope Queens, I think that really sort of was all the proof of concept that I needed for myself, that that's the right path for me. So everything is just doubling down on who I am and being the best version of me. Ooh, best advice. When I was starting my production company, Tiny Reparations, I chatted with Reese Witherspoon, which is like super cool. I just wanted to pick her brain. And she just gave me some really sage advice about just sort of when you're starting out as a production company, like have patience, things are gonna take longer. I really took everything she said to heart. And she was definitely right about the patience. It takes a long time to get TV going. With Two Dope Queens, Jess and I produced it for the podcast and also the HBO specials. So transitioning that to a production company, that hasn't been that difficult. It's just sort of the other stuff where it's like, oh, I gotta pick out health insurance packages. I have to manage employees' expectations. Like I have to do all the things that like aren't sexy, but that make a business run. Like that's the stuff where I'm like, oh man, yeah, this is a lot. I guess stand-up will probably be the thing I'm the strongest at, just because I've been doing it for 13 years. But I really love writing as well, and I'm on my third book now. Please don't sit on my bed in your outside clothes. Everything informs each other. So if I'm acting, then I can remember like, oh, I have my producer hat on a little bit, but I really try to be in the zone. And I think having that background as like a stand-up comic and like a performer and an actress like really helps me sort of work with other actors and realize like what they need in a scene. I don't want to say be careful with our feelings, but you have to really just make sure you're supporting us in the best way possible. So it's good that I can sort of do all of these little bit of things, and it really like makes everything better that I do. I think writing a book is the hardest thing of all the stuff that I do because you're just by yourself. Microsoft Word has done their part and now I have to do my part. Now that I'm on my third book, I just really know how to like punch a lot of jokes in, but also save room to be vulnerable. You know, in the book I write about how my boyfriend and I, we don't want to have kids, and being in your mid-30s and making that's like a big life choice to make. Writing that, I was comfortable just having those moments where I was really vulnerable about it instead of just trying to like be jokey all the time. Like I think it's not something I could have written in my first book and it would have been as sort of impactful or standing in my truth at that time. But I think now it's just like, it. This is who I am and this is it. I don't necessarily have a mentor. It's kind of tough because I started out doing stand-up and that's really a thing where you kind of like go it alone, or you know, it's very male dominated and it's just like a lot of the guys in stand-up are just straight up trash. And I'm like, I don't want you in my life at all. So it's a lot of just putting my head down. So I would like a mentor. Oprah, if you're available, Michelle Obama, Bono. So my team, I have to just mention my work wife, my Wen. She's right over there. She hates me talking about her. But I have like an amazing team, like my publicist Sam and Brittany. They're so funny. I have so many women around me. It's great. It's all I want. No bullshit. Like that is, you can't outwork with me if you're gonna bring drama, if you're gonna be messy. You gotta have a great sense of humor, be a ball buster, keep me in my place, all that kind of stuff. I yell a lot of compliments at, like, I just want you to believe how much I believe in you. So I'm always just yelling positivity at people. It's a little intense. I don't like to have anything, like even if it is like the littlest thing, I wanna make sure I give it my all, because I'm always like, everyone is showing up. So I can't not show up because I'm in like a bad mood or I'm tired or whatever. So I always want to like deliver. I like to have fun and like we should enjoy what we're doing. You know, people want to be so serious about like my art and all these things. I'm like, it's enough. Like even if, and I love Martin Scorsese, but if he was like my art and camera, I'm like calm down. We are all just like trying to survive and thrive and have a good time. So I really want people to enjoy it and not feel like this shouldn't be hard. This should be like a lot of fun and a lot of work, but this shouldn't be like painful to do. Fictional characters that I look up to. Sex and the City is such a touchstone for me, so I feel like I'm all four of them. I'm like Miranda because I just gotta tell you how it is. I'm like Carrie that I'm just, she makes some bad choices. And I'm like, you're kind of the villain. Samantha because I could just like overshare. And then Charlotte, I can also be a little flighty. So those are probably the four that I feel like, oh yeah, I have parts of that within myself. One of my favorite comics is Naomi Ekperigin. She has a Netflix half hour. I think she's taping it soon, but she's such a phenomenal stand-up. I love her. She's hilarious. She lives in LA now. She was in New York for a while, so LA won. Congratulations. But I knew her win LA. I feel like she's this close to just like exploding. Working during quarantine and COVID I think everyone was sort of just struggling. Like some days you have good days, you could really crank out a lot for the book, and then other days it was just, it is what it is. And I think I just allowed myself to that grace of like, you're just doing your best. COVID's happening. The world is not depending on this book, so just take it as it comes. But looking back on it now, I'm like, I should have just probably relaxed during that time. But I was like, I gotta prep this. Let me come up with this and this. And now like, I'm just running 100 miles a minute. It was hard, but I got through it.